こんにちは。私の名前はクリス・ブーンズです。私はプロの漫画家です。よろしくお願いします。Hi everybody, my name is Chris Burns and I am a manga artist. For those of you that don't know what a manga artist is, in Japan, manga means comic or comic book. So in translation, I am a Japanese comic book artist. Some of you might not understand what manga is, but you might know what anime is. If you are familiar with Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, One Piece, or Bleach, or even the Avatar: The Last Airbender, you kind of already know what I do for a living. In my industry, anime is a form of Japanese cartoon or animation. It's short for animation. And manga is, like I said, translated to comic books. In Japan, manga comes before the animation adaptation of the series. So before there's even an anime, there's artists and creators that create comic books called manga that tell these awesome stories involving either superpowered main characters or about normal day-to-day life called slice of life. If you're wondering what it's like to be a comic book or manga artist, I'm going to show you what my day-to-day routine looks like in my career field. The very first thing I do before I get my workday started is I prep my work area. This right here is what my workstation looks like when I'm creating my illustrations and my comic books. As you can see, I have my markers set up, I have my pens in a drawer, and I have mainly my computers on my desk. I substitute my computers with paper if I'm doing traditional medium, but for the most part I work solely on computer screens. Before you make a manga page, there's a couple of things that you have to take into consideration. What do you want the page to tell? How detailed do you want the page to be? And do you want it colored or non-colored? In Japan, most manga is black and white. This is done so that way it conserves ink, time, and money. So without further ado, let me show you guys how I designed one of my manga pages from my series called Chikara: Power of God. Before I actually get started on a manga page, I have to remember what I want to be told in this current chapter that I'm working on. So far, I'm in book 2 and I'm working on a fight scene, so we're going to be showing you how I actually illustrate and draw that fight scene for the page. So, here's my page layout. It has a bunch of panels and the back part of the paper is white. This lets me know how I'm going to actually draw out each panel and each frame. In Japan, or in Eastern culture, they read from right to left. Here in the States, we read from left to right. My book is catered mainly to Western states and Western readers, so I decided to design my books to read left to right, but it is still manga, so it still has that manga feel like in traditional Japanese comic books. Now that I have my panels laid out, it's time to do a rough sketch of each panel to let me know what I'm going to do for this entire page. As you can see, the rough sketch literally has no detail, and its mainly sole purpose is just to let me know roughly how I want things to look. The next part of the process is to do a fine sketch. This part of the process is literally just to amplify the original sketch so you can now start to see what's actually in my mind as far as the page layout. The next step is called inking, or some like to call it line art. This is a process on where you trace over your previous sketch with a fine ink pen. Many people have different preferences on how they want their inks to look. This is my preference to give it that actual feel as if it's being drawn on real paper, even though it's digital. You want your inks to actually be bold enough so people can see it, but you don't want to make it too bold because in Western comic books, they use a lot of bold lines, but in manga, it's more so very fine lines to give it that really simple feel. Sometimes creators put word bubbles inside the panels, and sometimes they do it outside of the panels. For me personally, I like to do a little bit of both, depending on my space for the page, because I don't want it to be too cluttered, but I don't want it to feel too empty. And once you have all of that done, boom, you have a successful manga page for your book. Now that this page is done, I repeat the process until the book is complete. My books normally run from 80 to 90 pages, sometimes 100, but in standard manga, the pages can be either from 200 to even 400 pages in length. I hope you guys enjoyed looking into the life of a manga artist. If you want any information on my own story, which is called Chikara: Power of God, my social media is on the screen. The best way to contact me is either through Instagram or through Facebook. Thanks for having me. Sayonara.